Good morning, everybody. It's time for us to get to work, and George is with us today. Look at George. What a good cat. I was whistling, and so he was like, "What's the story with the whistling?" Good morning, Brent. George is out here just being scritched all the time because he's like into the scritching. Brent says hello to you, George. George has gotten to be a big Tom. He's a big kitty now. He's a good kitty. All right. We got work to do today. So you can visit with me later. It is the 20th anniversary of this guy's release. So happy birthday, Stitch. Time for Stitch's birthday. I have oft felt that Stitch was my spirit animal in all ways that were completely useless. Because Stitch is Stitch. All right. So the MPV already had all of the flight controls on it. So I'm just going to keep going with that and put them all in here because there's no reason not to. Right? I mean, like the MPV was already there, so might as well just keep up the work with it. I already had all the controls on it, so. Today's the last episode of Kenobi, huh? We are so behind on Kenobi because we're watching it now as a family. So I stopped watching ahead. You know, because I've got too many other things now, frankly. Like now that we've got episodes of For All Mankind rolling, and I still haven't even started Orville. And it's like, wow, there's so much this month. I knew it would be. Luckily, I have pages. I'm not going anywhere. About what I'm doing here is that this at least will make this consistent and the controls will look the same as they do on the MPV, which is exactly what it should be. I mean, like the MPV should look the same as the controls in the pilot house. But last night as I laid in bed, I thought about whether I should continue on with the idea of oh gosh, I hope so. Anything else? Where are they going after Mars? I mean, looks like one of my streams is having connection issues. So we're going to do thing for the next couple of minutes. All right. So, Titan. Yeah, Titan. Ganymede. I mean, once we get off of Mars, things get complicated as far as the system, solar system goes, as far as how things operate. Alpha Centauri, yeah. I mean, like, there's a lot of places we can go when we get off of Mars, but then you're kind of like, ooh, that's going to add a whole level of trouble. Okay, so noticing that the main control panel here is whole season of Mars with it. Yeah, that's really what they will do. It's spend season 4 on Mars, and then season 5 will be pushing from Mars. But most of our cast will have aged out by then, because no matter how fast we move, it's still 60, 70 years. You know, even if you do the entire concept of we're going to be doing, you know, we're going to be moving with super fast, these are still Apollo era pilots and people, right? I'm just straightening up the control console here. Right. Which streams are having problems? I don't know what stream are having problems. It says all the streams are doing fine. Okay, so here's the thing. I've been adding music from the restream thing, and Facebook has been completely freaking out about it. And so I'm doing maybe I should wait and do music the way we used to do it. So I don't know. I'm going to test something. We're going to put the background music in. And we did last night ambient, and ambient got tagged as a claim from, get this, Antarctica put a copyright claim on our music yesterday. So they cut up half our show because they claimed our music was copyrighted. Antarctica did. So McMurdo Bass apparently has a problem with our music. So we did ambient. I did chill. So I'm going to do down tempo now and see if it locks us up on down tempo. So here we go. We'll see whether McMurdo Bass has a problem with this. Looking out there at you, McMurdo Bass. So that's probably true. I think I'll go with your theory on that one as well. Since this is a hero, back in here and clean this up too while we're at it. So I do find a couple of things extraordinarily fascinating about For All Mankind. For example, it amazes me that they are still using Apollo era landers into the 90s. That is exactly what I would expect to see. However, it's still cool. We are conserving money left and right, so that is exactly what I would expect would occur. But still, oh yeah. I'm sure that there's, some kind of 8086 processor on there. Maybe a 386 or a 4, maybe a 486 processor. No, this is sloppily done. Oh, we can buy followers. Aww. That's so sweet. I always feel like with those, I'm always kind of like, well, I mean, isn't it like blatantly obvious to people? I guess it's not blatantly obvious to people. I've seen episode 2, yes. I know what happens to Molly. And to be fair, she deserved it. She was being a jerk. The BattleBots show. The BattleBots show is funny. Mostly because we used to watch that. You don't think she deserved it? I mean, she was being super obstinate. Although it's a good show, if you and I aren't on the same page, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally down with you and I not agreeing on this one. That's kind of cool. And super classic Ron Moore. Like, is not an uncommon thing. And I'm not talking about anything bad happening to Molly. I'm talking about crossing NASA and getting her butt fired for it. Like, I think she was against Poole because they were doing all the things I have seen in the past. All of those, look, there's nothing wrong with you as this is the case, but the other guy is much more qualified. But he's not. Yeah, he is. And we can't tell you why he's more qualified, but he is. I've seen that. I've seen that happen. So, like, I know I've seen what is happening to Danielle. I've seen that happen. Real time. And I feel that. The problem is, that is a very great example of the classic problem there. You know, is Danielle more qualified? Now you're not really sure. Is what Ed saying, is he correct? That, he thinks that this was a mercy hire or something like that. That's very. Well, okay, so to be fair, I also think Margot might be compromised. So I'm very concerned about Margot and her connection to the Soviets. So true. However, in real life, this is kind of what happened to NASA when we moved into the shuttle era. We moved away from test pilots and into scientists, and found that they were perfectly capable of thinking on their feet too. I mean, in real life, that's what we found out as well. Because the original version of NASA was built. Yeah, really worried about Margot. I feel like she's very compromised. I mean, I know what she's trying to do, and I appreciate what she's trying to do, but I feel like she's going to compromise the U.S. space program because of that. And that worries me a lot. I love this show, by the way. This is everything. And the reason why we're not working on Witches of Flame right now is because, frankly, Ron Moore is doing a better job than I would have. I mean, I'm going back to this. I'm good here. But Ron Moore is kicking much, much more butt than I would ever do in Witches. We'll get back to Witches, but it's down the road now. We have to let Ron Moore have his day and not be a Ron Moore clone. I mean, I think also I had a different take, but not that different. Ron and his team are easily as well versed on the space program as I am. And so there was a logic to it and a logic of where we could go. And I feel like Ron is doing a good job following that logic, and I would have done the same thing. And so I've come up with a better place for it. He's got a lot of really good stuff up there, so I'm worried about Margot. I love Margot so much as a character too. I mean, like who she is and what she does. I love her so much, and I'm going to be so sad when they crash her, and they're going to crash her. They're going to crash her hard, and I'm all upset and sad because I love Margot so much. Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen too. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, he's like a really solid Elon Musk. I mean, they're not even hiding it. He is totally an Elon Musk. And he's coming across as much more reasonable as far as a person. But I'm curious what's going to happen if those ships are en route together. Because Ed had to go be an ass to Danielle. That's going to be an issue. I mean, they're professionals and stuff like that. I don't think it's going to affect what they're doing as far as their jobs. But I also think that there's going to be pressure when we get them on orbit, en route. The other thing about this is Ed's old. I mean, they've been saying that a lot, but the truth is, I mean, Ed's an Apollo era pilot. NASA was retiring Apollo era pilots by the 90s for good reason. I mean, they were standing them down, for very good reason. I mean, we kind of have to remember John Glenn in the 90s went back up, but he was the oldest man who had ever been in space. Mercury era was way past that, and Poole and Ed and Danielle are both Apollo era, which means it's not illogical. Like, they didn't push it too far. But yeah, 94 is it. That's all he's got. There's no way he's going past 1994 on that one. Dang it. Dang it. So, yeah, there is no way he's doing anything past this. So, yeah, a 96 launch is pushing it, super pushing it. I mean, even Danielle, which is why I'm glad they're bringing up Ed's daughter, because she's younger and could theoretically have been, and she's now in the astronaut corps and things like that. And they're bringing in the Baldwin kid too. Not the Baldwin kid, but the other guy, the guy who had the affair with Ed's wife. And all these names, I'm forgetting all of them. They're bringing him up too because, he's Annapolis trained. Danny, that's it. But he's Annapolis trained. West Point, that kind of stuff. Well, maybe not West Point, but Annapolis. So as he's going to be a real issue in the story, and that's cool. Okay with that. So I don't think it's going to pan out well for him either. He's after Karen, and we know he's after Karen, and that's going to be bad. That's going to mimic a storyline that actually sadly happened as well. And that's the point of that. And that's not a good storyline either. One that NASA's not proud of. Yeah, that's not going to be any fun, though. I wonder. I like Wayne. He was cool. He was an interesting character. I liked him a lot. He was a fascinating and interesting character. I don't know, because Molly is going to have, she's going to have to figure this out. Like where she was on this, where she fell on it. And you know what I like really the most about this is that you are on the side of Molly in this sort of situation. I felt when I watched it that it was clean cut, that it was obvious what the situation was. And now that you've brought that up, I'm questioning that. You know what I mean? Like, because I know you and I have faith in you and stuff like that. So like that means that he wrote really, really well. The writing is superb because you and I agree. However, we fell in different places. You thought that Ed was more qualified, and I felt like Danielle was more qualified, which is a perfect writing situation, right? As a writer, that oh man, I'd be so proud of myself if I were you. Because that's perfect. That means that you wrote well enough that your own people, the people who watch it, fall in different directions. And I love that stuff. I also love that, you know, you and I have got now some meat to discuss. You know what I mean? Like we got cool stuff that we can get into this, you know? It's like that's cool too. Agreed. No question about that. No question about that. I do think that definitely Margot was snapping Molly. I also feel like Molly has been sort of cranking it up. Right. It's probably fair. We're probably not being fair to all the people who are watching who are like, what are they talking about? For All Mankind? What's this? Oh no. We've spoiled so much. Alrighty. So all I'm doing here is going through and cleaning this up, making it a little cleaner, because we're going to have, it's the primary control panel on our beloved spacecraft, so probably want to make it look pretty decent. There's an upper panel I'll need too. So we'll go for that upper panel. This guy here. Because that's that upper panel I need. And so the MPV already had all the controls that I'm going to need for this. So just take these controls and stick them in here. They already should match, and would make some sense that they, are similar in function and design. All right, so one of the other things that we're going to do also on this is we're going to have to take some of these controls. No, I'm going to leave this up because this guy is probably, now I feel like it's crooked. I need one more thing. I need, from the interiors generic, I need that plant-on, that alternate plant-on. So it's probably in the bridge. Yep. We're going to take some of these guys and move them over as well. Because what we need are these controls. Over to here. She has to have on this bridge panel physical controls to show what's going on when they're in space. So this side control panel will be the same controls we just saw on the bridge with these double values here. And this guy is that guy is the thing that goes ping, 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 and then says something is wrong right off the bat. This is the control panel unit. Right here, that in that sequence that we see, it says, all the lights go bing, 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 and then one of them goes bing, 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 bing. That's this little panel, little hexagon panel of idiot lights. That's what it is. A bunch of idiot lights. Okay, and we've got this guy we want to have on the top panel. There. And then the last one is this guy. This is the nexus of every control that has ever needed to exist for flying the kittiwake without any other operational or without any PC control. So we need to make sure that every control everywhere else on the spacecraft is duplicated here. So there we go. Stream things out. So it's not quite as weird. All right. Let's do a couple of other things. Because graphic design is always important. Before you do that, you may wish to seal it. Okay, so the music seems to be going into a loop, so I'm swapping loops. Drunk. All right. What? Yeah. It's the same thing it's always been, though, George. Same old thing. You can come up here if you want scritches, but I'm not there. Every time I do that, you always walk away and you're like, ah. And I'm like, I'm not playing a game anymore. You're a weird cat. Trying to decide if I should just put a keyboard here. Maybe I should. Y'all, cats are weird. I mean, it would be really hard to type on this, I think. Remarkably hard to type on it because it's sideways. But I mean, if you had to type something in and it was an emergency, I guess that would be the best thing. Like, I guess you could turn sideways, pivot your body sideways, and sit at the console and type if you needed to. But there should be a keyboard. That's one thing I noticed so much does not occur on Star Trek. There are no keyboards anywhere. You know, you have to know to push this button, then that button, then that button, then that button, then that button. And then somehow the LCARS knows what you want, but it's magical. So but like I said, this is the nerve center in a lot of ways of the spacecraft when we're in transit. So this panel should be about as up to date and awesome as it can possibly be. So we might as well grab all of the widgets from everywhere. All right. I feel like that's enough beeps and boodles and doodle-wops and all kinds of stuff to make this kind of look cool and operate well. I feel like I also need to find my mouse again. There it is. I'm going to kind of do something like this, though. One of the reasons I've been putting off doing this particular set is because it's ridiculously complicated and it's taking frickin' forever. And I knew that. But, I mean, it needs to look ridiculously complicated. It's an important piece of the spacecraft, and it needs to look ridiculously complicated, like, you know, as only an important piece of the spacecraft would look. All right. I think we're approaching a test point. So let's save this as and let's bring it up in here. So let's go ahead and bring up the flight control pillar. Let's turn off its specular color and put it over flight control pillar mode. Bring the ambient color to white and bring it down to about there. And here we go. Now we're looking at the pillar as she stands. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can turn sideways, twist sideways, and hit that control panel there on the right. But I mean, it looks solid. She can get up there on that upper control panel. She can get to the lower control panel. Got the control panel to the right. I like it. Looks good. What you think over there? So I think we're doing good here. Okay, that's solved problem 1, which is in here. Problem 2 is not as cool. I'm not looking forward to problem 2. because the more I think about it, the more I think problem 2 is we should have a forward structure that is the windows, and then make a flat floor that matches the rest of the sound stage of the ship. And I'm not ecstatic about this because I worked pretty hard yesterday to build that hull piece that we've been doing all night long for this. But I can't see out these windows, and we can't put anything out these windows. And at some point, the ship is going to be landed on a planet. We're going to have to composite that together, and I don't want to composite that together. Some things I'm noticing, though. One thing I do want to fix is that there's no bottom side to this. Is that because that's all one unit? It is. Okay, well, we can fix that relatively easily. Turn this on right here, and that's this line right here. So we'll make sure we have that line on both sides. Same thing for the front, right here. Yeah. Make your stupid lines 8-point, you won't have an issue. Stop doing it dumbly, you won't have a problem. It's like the way that it always goes. Stop being stupid about it, you won't have an issue. Okay, we'll do that. I knew that I was going to have to get in here and get into this fray at some point in time anyway, and I'm just aggravated, and I didn't want to get into the fray, and I was wasting time, and yada, 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 yada. And I shouldn't have done it, and I know I shouldn't have done it. It's fine. I'll get there. Set building is a thing. It's part of the charm of my comics. I think I need to also reframe in my head some stuff. Like, I keep saying I do all of this work to make things go faster. And though that is true, that's what started it. It's now part of kind of the charm of my comics. And I need to not discount that. So I spend a lot of time going, oh yeah, well, we did this because I'm whatever. But now it's part of the charm of what my comics are. They all have a specific, very specific look to them. And I feel like I shouldn't discount that. I feel like I spend a lot of time kind of going, well, I did this because I'm weird or whatever. And it's not. I didn't do this because I'm weird. I did this because it's part of the charm of what makes my comic work. All right, here's what we're going to do. And I need to stop discounting things because I'm defending them or whatever. That's silly. It's ridiculous. Where's the centroid of this? Here's the center. Because, of course, it's not all that way. That's what I mean. Is like, but it's also part of the artwork. It's part of the design. I keep sitting there kind of going, well, I did this to be faster. No, I mean, yes, I did do it to be faster, but also because it looks cool, It's like, it's my design, it's what I do, and it looks cool, and it looks nifty, and I shouldn't keep trying to justify it by, you know, saying I did it because I wanted to be faster. I did do it to be faster, but on the same token, I did do all of this, and it has made a fascinating, unique style that doesn't exist. All right, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna hate me for this. We're gonna build all the rigs inside here. It won't take that long, relatively speaking. But what I'm not liking about what we've got is that the windows are rounded, and they're not. These are struts and supports. And so they should look like struts and supports, and they don't. And that's bothering me a lot. So we're going to fix it. Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to say, is that, like, there's an aesthetic to what I do, and I keep discounting that as, you know, some, by saying that I did it to make things go faster, I'm kind of cheapening it, you know? I'm like making it cheaper. Like, it's not a legitimate thing. And of course it is. It's totally legitimate in of its own self. It has to be in naked mode, folks. We have to be in naked mode. There we go. Bring this up. And that's exactly what I was saying, is I shouldn't be cheapening this. That's exactly what I'm doing, is cheapening it. You know, I'm making it cheaper, and I really shouldn't be. That's not fair. I do have a very unique design aesthetic here. And it does look completely different from other comics. And I've been seeing that in a way as a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I don't look like everybody else's comics. And now I'm starting to go, that's not really fair to myself. Not really fair at all. I really need to be more fair to myself. All right, you need to be, like, I don't know, further out. I don't know where the hell you need to be. All right. So now we've made a bottom rig that effectively.
Incoming call from an unknown caller.
Boy, they are determined. The medical. I have a medical appointment tomorrow, and I have gotten 4 texts, 3 phone calls, all of them automated. They're just making sure I don't forget, which is fine, but it's still like, wow, guys. All right. So that goes all the way to the top. Pin it back. There we go. Pin it to here. And I'll just pin this back. Nope, we went the wrong way. Ha! This way to here. Pin it in here. There we go. Like so. Really, we need to come down actually quite a ways from this. So we're going to go back to the front because we need to branch. So, which is not to be confused with blanch. We need to blanch. Hello, Joan. Today I am working on a piece of the pilot house, which is the front portion, steering portion of the Starship. So it looks like this right here. This is what the pilot house looks like. And we're working, this is the main primary control center of the ship, where the pilot sits, not the bridge. The bridge is aft, but the pilot house has windows so that the pilot can actually like steer the ship into a parking spot or whatever, a dock, so she can control through here. But now I'm not happy with the way this turned out, this rigging here. So I'm rebuilding it. So that's what we're doing over here, is rebuilding it in Blender. I wasn't ecstatic about it. It wasn't coming out like I wanted it to. So that's the agenda for today. So, well, thank you. Thank you very much. We were just talking about the fact that I have used this this 3D modeling thing to be a shortcut. Yeah, it's the true brains of the ship. Yeah, exactly. I've used this as a shortcut to make it faster for me to create my comics. And what I've been doing is kind of selling myself short. That's what I've been saying. I've been realizing that I now have a design aesthetic which looks very different than other comics because of the nature of the way I'm doing these things. And I'm sort of selling myself short by saying that I only did it for speed, because it actually now has its own little, like, it is its own thing. I believe that my partner has been trying to say something very similar for a long time. And I think that she has been attempting to make that point for a while. So, you know, that's the thing. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Sometimes we don't listen. We should listen, but we don't. That's okay. It's very hard to get this lined up. So, what's on your agenda today, my dear friend Joan? I also feel like this is going to be better looking in the end. It's going to look a whole lot better. Because I feel like the little proto windows that I made here were weird. So I feel like that's not going to end as well as I wanted to. Cleaning and organizing. Not very fun, but you know. I appreciate that. We're getting there. We're getting there. So we'll keep you company while you do the housework, which is an important task. I have some of that as well on my agenda. I want to keep this more level than I did last time, because this last one, it's slightly unlevel. It's very hard to read what's going on here, so it's kind of difficult to make this work like I want it to, because it's very hard to read what's happening. That's why we're doing one side at a time, though. So there is that. And go all the way back to here. We'll bring this up to there, there, there. Hopefully that's aligned. Bring that up to there as well. And it's not bad. I mean, it's not good, but it's not bad, right? I mean, we're pretty close out here. Click. And then we'll come around to click-ish. At some point in time, we're going to have to kill the windows and then go back through and align all those tops so that they'll connect top. Oh, man. But that's okay. We'll get there. We're getting there. This just takes a little bit of effort. This is going to be the hard one because it needs to be aligned forward and aft. You know, these windows look so cool, and they are so freaking annoying because they're not aligned at all to each other. They're aligned in a weird way. See, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. So these guys all forward need to be rolled to one side. So we're going to go like this. Maybe here. We'll straighten this out once we're sure we have everybody in the right spot. Then I'm going to move the windows out and we'll take a look at positioning of everything on this to make sure everything is straight. And like, look here on this one, you bring it forward like this, you can already see we've got people didn't quite do what they were supposed to do. So, and seal up holes in it. Chunk. And then we'll try to get this guy to come back here and lock in. Maybe. No, like so. That makes it easier to. Yes. So let me show you how this works. We kind of completed this mission, so close all of those. Do not save. Do not save. This guy's already saved, so we're building the 3D model, and what will happen is I will here. Light Rising completes in Act 1. So we'll take, say, for example, set. This set isn't built yet, but the set of the bridge is. So we'll take a look at the bridge set here. What will happen is these are all 3D models back here, right? Then I'll draw the characters over the 3D models like that. So these 3D models still come up in here. And you can already see the control panel here. It's similar to the one that we already just built. I get the same thing over here where two characters are talking, right? We've got them kind of going, like all of these pieces then are all the 3D render pieces. So that way they're always in correct perspective and they don't distort or twist or anything like that. And so I still get the flair of having a hand-drawn character, but I don't have to. I don't know. I originally did this for my comic Tamerlane in 2005, and I've seen a few comics that do things similar, but I've never seen anybody directly render out a background like I do, where I build the entire thing. And in 05, so I've been a fan of Poser, which is the program that came before what I use now, Daz Studio. I've been a fan of Poser since 1999, when I realized that I could use it to do the maquette thing, where you have like the little wooden mannequins that you usually see, the drawing mannequins, where you move all the joints and everything and then you sketch the mannequin. I was like, man, I could use Poser for that same thing. And I had that realization in 99, but then I joined this forum called the Poser Forum, and I became known on that forum for kind of pushing Poser in directions it was never supposed to go, because I was doing landscapes and I was doing worldscapes, planetscapes. I had stars and planets and suns and spaceships, and Poser wasn't built for that. And so everybody gave me great feedback for that, because there was a lot of it. Wow, that's amazing. How did you do that? So I kind of became known for taking a program and, thinking outside the box. So later, I was trying to do comics directly out of Poser, where you rendered just the scenes. But then there was a class of comics that came out in the early 2000s that was all Poser comics. And they kind of got derided and people didn't like them. And I was like, you know what? I can actually draw. So I was wondering if there was a way I could mix it. And so that's where this came from. At the time, I was drawing my Star Trek comic, Tamerlane. And I did a test page. I wonder if I still have that test page available, because that's a cool test page. Where, let's see, maybe out of Tamerlane. I doubt it, but we'll see. So yeah, originally what I did was this, where I had this was the original first page of Tamerlane, done back in 05. And I had this 3D set of a bridge from the original series, and I had this 3D model of the Tamerlane. And so what I did was I traced the 3D, I rendered the 3D model, and then I rendered the bridge, and then traced the model and traced the bridge. And at some point I thought, well, gosh, I'm tracing all of this. That's taking freaking forever. I wonder if I could just build a 3D model with lines around all the edges, and then it would still look the same as this, but I could just render it direct. And that's where the idea for this came from, because these guys can render direct and just render them out. So that's where this all came from. Right? Tammy, the Tammy got really involved over the years. She, little T, that's what she's called. She got much more involved as time went on. This is all pre-poses. Why is it I don't have the finals? There's only one in the directory. That's weird. Because ultimately we got to the point where is the one that I like so much? This is a 2-page splash here. There we go. I love that one. This is at the pinnacle of Tamerlane, when she was moving along at a good pace and a good clip, and I was putting out a couple of pages a day and stuff like that. I love this picture though. So, yep. And so this inspired our Kittiwake, because this is a full 3D model that just renders exactly like this. So she just renders out like this and it looks just like this, and there's no problem. Then we got to the point where, like, I did a few other things with this, but yeah, I got, oh hey, you want to see a cool picture of Bennett? There's a cool picture of Bennett with her phaser. These are the splash pages. And there's Cochrane's splash page. Way down here I have Ward's splash page. Yeah, it does kind of give an Aeon Flux feel. So, yep. And then this was a long, arduous journey through this particular episode. But this episode's 170 pages long. So that was a long haul. This one was interesting because this is the story of Cochrane and her daughter. Right? It's Cochrane's daughter there, who is still this passed through. So when I wrote Tamerlane, I don't know if I've told you the story, but I'll tell the story again because we're here. When I was writing Tamerlane, and about 2 years ago, I went to visit my dad in just after the pandemic started, and I visited my dad, and we were sitting around chatting and eating cheese crackers, which is a thing we do with hot sauce on it, because that's sort of a thing. He said, "How many pages did you write of Tamerlane?" And he's like, I said, "Well, about, I don't know, 300 or so." And he said, "You can't sell that, son. You can't put that on a table. You can't sell that." And I said, "Yeah, you know." So he said, "Why don't you?" Well, I know you know the story. I just don't know whether Joan knows the story. I got to tell the story. I'm a storyteller. That's what I do. It's what you signed up for when you joined the stream. But so he said, "Why don't you just do what Seth MacFarlane did and make your own story? Take your Star Trek stories and change the characters and change the ship, change the uniforms, and it's still Star Trek, but with funny hats." So that's where we are now. And then we get the popcorn. And so that's how this all kind of came about. Was I wanted to do that, and so now all the stories are getting all my characters, which I had spent forever developing. I had these really rich characters. They were very deep. They've got lots of grit to them and some fascinating backstory, and so I moved them all over. And I mean, really, the only real difference between Chang and Cochrane is that Chang has freckles, and that's pretty much it. Her hair is slightly longer, I think. But you know what I mean? Like, Bennett didn't even change. Bennett's still Bennett, this exact same character. I just changed her uniform. Ward became Mayrel Legend, which she's part of a... not, I guess species isn't the right word. Culture. Human culture called the Deastati. And they're storytellers. That's what they do. So all the families have story-esque names, and she comes from the family Legend, and so that's her name. So that's where we come from. So that's where so all of it's that way. But like I was saying to Brent, I kind of discount this 3D modeling thing. 2 months, it was 3 months of star charts. Although I'm noticing you've backed up to 2 months now, so I feel that either your memory is starting to slip or we are improving on our storytelling as to how many star charts I did. So, and Brent has been here this entire time putting up with my star charts. There we go. He'd like for you to know that. So, and what Brent's alluding to is, since I could do anything I wanted, it's my world, right? That was the other statement my dad was kind of making, which was, I'm limited with Star Trek to Star Trek's universe. So I can only do as much as would be permitted inside Star Trek's universe. If I want to have a galactic war, I either have to, retcon history at the end of my galactic war so that, Kirk and Spock and McCoy don't all have to be in that galactic war. Or I don't have it. And that was an issue that I did have a final realization with Dad. That was his other argument was you can't change Star Trek's history. So no matter what, my characters would be limited to what could and could not occur in Star Trek's history. And he wasn't wrong. So that's the story of where Bellatrix Rising came from. Bellatrix is a star around Orion. It's the left shoulder of Orion. So what Brent's alluding to is I actually took the Gaia probe, which is a probe we have in orbit around the sun right now, and its job is to map stars. And I have its data. I downloaded the data off of the website because it's free, and loaded it into an Excel spreadsheet, and it's something like 17 billion stars. And so it took forever. But finally, I narrowed down all the stars that are around the left shoulder of Orion and plotted them so that they're all in a 3D space, and made a star map that is accurate. So all the stars that you can go to in Bellatrix Rising are real stars, real locations in space. And so each star is a real star. So, but my math skills suck a lot. And so it took quite a few passes before I finally got it squared away correctly. So I had to keep going back and fixing my star maps over and over and over. And finally, it took 2 or 3 months before I figured out all my math correctly, because it was all so, that happened. So I got it finally, but it was a lot of there was an awful lot of Brent wanting to throttle me a lot happening. It was a thing. All right, now I think we've hit sort of a structure point where this structure is coming up just fine. I am much better at this than I am at star maps and math. So there's that. Yeah, it took forever because the map was always wrong, and there was something wrong with it, and I could tell something wasn't right, but I wasn't sure what that was. It was like once I squared the math away, and we were sure that the math was correct, then it didn't take very long at all. You're right. It was right there, and it just happened, and all was good. But boy, up until that point, it was a mess. All right, let's see if we did that correctly. That looks pretty semi-okay. Yeah. And by semi-okay, I mean not okay at all, but that's all right. We'll get there. We'll get there. Down to here. There. Right? He's totally Star Trek dated. It was actually kind of funny because a while back I found out that the Gaia charts had been updated. And I was like, do I even want to go in there and fix my charts? I'm like, no, I really don't. I think I'm done. So I might be Star Trek dated as well. They are close enough. And I'm fine. And we'll see where I feel later on. But for right now, they are close enough. And I'm okay. All right. Okay, so one of the things I'm noticing is I have now made this so that internally it doesn't roll around the sides, and B, I'm feeling like this needs to be back here, like so. That's okay. I'll move this guy to here. I always feel for poor Brent, because like Brent has to put up with all this stuff. Every time I'm like, maybe I'll mess with things, and he's like, no, stop messing with stuff. Like, well, maybe, no, not maybe, just stop. Okay. Poor Brent. It's like, don't touch it. Very funny. Brent is a valuable individual in this, because he keeps me from going way wonky, which I would, and I know I would, and so it's totally fine. Very valuable. It is also very funny though when I go off task, and then Brent's like, really? Like, but I need to fix this. No, you really don't. It's fine. It is fine. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It's fine. Leave it alone. Don't touch. Very funny. Okay, so now that I have built these in the correct shape, I'm putting this top ring to make sure it's the same size and the correct size, and put it in like so. So this top ring will fit in here, like that. And then I need this side here to be flattened up against this line, because that way this wall will have an absolute face that goes backward one. Because at this point in time, here is where, okay, so we're going to actually do this. We're gonna, now that we've done this damage, the next thing is to make sure all of these guys are level and flat to the top, now that we've gotten them all straightened out. But I see the rest of this looks like this is pretty solid here. And it doesn't match the windows exactly, but it matches close enough. So the next step for this one is this, getting these guys all lined up to a uniform line. And I think the uniform line we're going to choose is this one right here. I'm going to do this. And once these guys are all lined up to there, I will go back to the top and make sure they still fit properly. There. And now when we do this, these guys should all be flat along the top surface. There we go. I'll make sure that they're still aligned properly, because this guy doesn't look like it's totally aligned. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I know how loud that is in the microphone. I apologize. Yep. So like now, and he does ask that all the time, and it's extraordinarily useful. In the instance of what we're doing here, I have put off doing all of the stuff in the pilot house because we're not ready yet. I didn't want to go through all this trouble of building the pilot house. It's an important piece of the Kittiwake, so I knew that we were going to have to ultimately build this because I knew that it was going to be something we were going to have to fuss with. And so, knowing that, I'm going to actually move this guy out to here so that this strut is forward. Knowing that, I knew that I was going to have to, at some point, build this set piece to match where we were in the set. Why are you doing that? That's weird. Oh, because we have that piece there. Hard to grab that guy. Not impossible, though. So, it became one of those, at some point, yeah, this is critical, and it needs to be done, and there's nothing we can do about it. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. And now we're here, which is fine. It's also good for me to do these sets in breaks with a break in the middle. We do. Brent's important. I mean, you're important to me too, Jones. So don't discount that. You're important as well. There we go. Brent has been with me for a long time on this project. So this guy didn't make it all the way up to this line. He didn't get the memo. All these guys now have to line up. Getting gear here, guys. And it's okay that this doesn't match this window because these windows were built to cut holes and other artwork. So we'll do this. We'll come to the top here. And I feel like this guy needs to come back out slightly because I feel like he's not lined up when we look down this strut here like so. See how he's kind of coming out like that? We don't want it to come out. We need him to be lined up. Because that should be one piece of, it's going to be, if you think of it from the point of view of how spacecraft are built, it's one piece of milled metal. So I don't want it to bend in the middle. I want it to look like it was milled properly, So, all right. We're getting to the point now where I feel like we've got all of these struts in correctly on this side. So now I need to build upward and across the upper dome. This is going to be a little complicated because I need to build some roof units here where they connect over the top and stuff. But we need to build to this top part of this dome. So we're going to be coming across that here. But first things first, we're going to have to come up and across and connect everything. So this is going to get ugly and complicated. And so let's go on ahead and get cracking because there's no reason to waste time. No time like the present. All right. So the biggest problem I'm having with this here is that I can't see over you. There we go. Get you out of the way. There. Good. And I can go back to you, which is what we were after. Because now what we're going to do, we're going to go across and up. Where everything here is just going to get one up bump, like so. There we go. Yeah, it was supposed to be for Airship 27. We'll get to that, I guess. We did do some Airship 27, so that's not a problem. Some Airship 27. Don't do that, actually. I think I'm going to undo that. What we're going to do instead is just connect it straight up. So connecting things is kind of complicated in this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete just the face and go over here and do the same thing on this side. I'm going to just take this face and I'm going to delete only the face. And then when we turn this on, I can grab U2, I can grab U2, and the F command puts in a face, right? So I can grab these two, and I can grab these two, and I'll put in a face, right? A little harder to grab the other side, so we won't do that yet. I'm gonna have to put it in naked mode to get some of these other faces down here, like that one right there. So I'll put in a face. Then we'll grab these two and these two. And you want to make sure you're aiming the camera at the correct direction, otherwise the normals go wonk. I will. There are no time loss of signal. Ron has been very specific that there are no time tables, there are no deadlines in here, and he's okay that I am working on Bellatrix Rising #1 first. So even though he would, of course, absolutely love to have his artwork done before then, he understood that this was behind Bellatrix Rising. That his ask was behind that. So, and that's okay. We'll get there. I'd like to do it relatively soon just because Nancy, who's writing the thing, is already on to the next story, remarkably. So there's that. You're like, me. I don't want to be fussing with it. You know what? I'm okay with that. That's fair. That is totally fair. There's nothing wrong with that. Someday I'm going to have to put Brent on payroll because it just keeps me so well organized. Brent right now can have a portion of all money I'm making, which is, none. Give you a percentage. I don't know. I make like $40 a month on Patreon, so it's not bad, I guess. All right. Now what we've done is we've sealed in that structure. We're going to need to build upward towards this upper structure. And it's going to be harder to do because legitimately it's going to be complicated to make this work like a circle like it's supposed to. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to select only the top ring. I'm going to go to the top here. I'm going to grab the scale tool. I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to move it inward until this lines and that lines. So this lines up and this lines up. Right? That's how we're going to do this. So that gives us the curvature kind of heading inward, like so. And that makes it easier to at least see where we're going on this. So then we'll extend upward one more. We'll go half the distance to the top of the dome. And we'll go to the top and do the same thing. So we're coming in, we're going to be about half the distance in. So, like this. Right. And I can already see by the shape of this that the dome is not quite clean. And we're going to have to fuss with it, I think. All right, so from this side, we go the final distance up to the top of this dome, which is right here with this window up at top. That's the final part of this dome. So it's not going to line up totally. We can already see that because the window is quite a ways up there, but I'm still going to bring this in and then bring it to here. There we go. And now what we have is a dome moving inward like that to that front part. So it still fits to one half of the dome pieces, so that'd be cool. And then the other thing I'm going to want to do is flatten out these dome pieces so that the tops are flat and it runs around the inside like that. And then we'll just block it in. And then it'll be the forward piece of the dome and it'd be okay. All right. So we built this interior dome unit. And actually, the headroom here is right up here no matter what. So I really don't need the dome to wrap inside like that. So what I'm going to do is this. We're going to take just the inside pieces. And this is where set design and things like that all start to play. Take these inside pieces like so. And I'm going to go to the back and I'm going to drop it down because really, legitimately, it doesn't need to be that high, right? So then we'll go to the top, go into naked mode. We'll pull it back to here. All right. No, that doesn't want to do. You. We'll just line these guys up. All right. And that's how we're going to do this. So we're going to bring this around like so. I feel like that's not lining up like it should, but that's okay. And that way what we end up with is just kind of this thick wall on the top. So the inside of the dome is a little bit, not quite as sharp as the outside of the dome. And then we get more head panel up here, which is fine because I think a couple of hang down control consoles that will be coming out of the wall in the pilot house. I think we actually had that established here, like this panel right here, which you actually can no longer see because forward control, so we'll have to come back in and fix that at some point. We'll do that. I mean, this is all we'll be done with the pilot house tonight. This is where we are, or at least really, really, really close to done with the pilot house tonight. So that should help us a lot. Same thing I'm going to do here is bring this in so that it's a little rounder. It's not quite as round as it should be. So there we go. So now we've got this inner dome. And I think really all we do now is just seal it up. and that'll be a thing. And the easiest way to scale up things here is probably that wall and that wall, just bring it in. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to do that. We're going to take this guy at the top, just bring him in. Right. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to kill this. Right. Just take that. And you. And you. And you. And. Okay. Yeah. Maybe. Let's just take the faces we know we want gone out. So that opened up that entire zone, right? So we also need to take you. Delete you. So this is now one big open area through here. And what I'm going to do is, we're going to do a trick that probably is not the world's nicest trick, but we're going to do this. And nope, we're not going to do that. Right. Oh no, somebody's calling. Oh God. Nobody listens. Not this side. We can do here. We're going to take everything on this back side here, right? And we're just going to make a face. That's one big, huge face. That will really be messy in DAS, so we're going to have to come back and do a triangulate on it, which we will in a minute. Build that face. We'll come down here and you, and you, and you, and you, and you two, and you. And then we'll put in a face down here. Okay. So later when we build this, because see now it's a continuous unit with a full upper dome that's all locked into place, and it all looks fine. But this will get really weird when we get to this will get really strange when we bring it into DAS. So I don't want to leave it like that any more than I have to. So what we'll do is at some point we'll have to rectify that with a triangulate. So actually what we'll do is we'll do that now because I keep talking about it and I'm like, right? So when we triangulate it, you can see what it's done here. It's put the, if you take off that modifier, it doesn't bring any struts across here. It's just one face with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. When I put triangulate on, all it does is just put so that there's only 3 points at any given point in time in the geometry. When you do that, that makes it so that at no point does the geometry get confused when it goes and exports to DAS. It didn't change anything. The shape is still the same. Everything is still perfectly the same. Nothing changed. But now we're going to take this guy, and I'm going to move him out of the way. Just stuff that I'm going to so, right, I'm just straightening that up. Like I said, we want to give the impression that what has occurred here is this is one welded block came out of the 3D printer, because of course that's really what happened in the future. Is it just, we're going to design a spacecraft, okay, no problem, and it just prints it out, and there's your spacecraft. So I also feel like we can do some interior design work, like a little bit of like this kind of thing, where we go to the bottom of it and bring this header panel in to give it a little bit of interior design and interest inside the spacecraft. So that header panel comes in, giving, and then down, and that'll give us a flat surface of which to put a monitor on or something, but it also gives a little bit of interest internally so that the internal part of this frame looks solid and interesting. So kind of moving along here, I'm looking at every other structure in here and noticing some things, like when I look at this window straight away, I should line up with this window and it should be fine. I mean, like, I shouldn't have any weird shapes out of it. It should be a clean view. So I'm going to pull these pieces back to here. And I've got a little piece that can move this way to give me a clean view. Right? So I'm going to go to the top, make sure that that's all straightened out, because I think I just extended. I did. So we're going to make sure it's back to here. So that's still on the structure line. But when I'm here, I'm looking at this and going, well, look what you've screwed up. Like this guy here. I mean, obviously, this is one of those, if I can design it in 3D, then a 3D printer can print it in 3D, and that's not going to be an issue. But it still has to be believable to some degree. And engineering-wise, it's got to be somewhat believable. So we're going to have to mess with it just a little bit to get it to be not weird looking. And we knew that. Okay. So now I'm looking at this window. Those structures, well, they look relatively okay. They don't look distorted necessarily. I'm not, that's probably better this way. I think so. Maybe a little bit more like that. Yeah, more like that. Kind of get that structure in. Move that structure like it's supposed to be. And making these windows look good. Okay. I mean, because no matter what, this is a weird structure on this front, but it works and it'll be fine. That front window looks good. We're going to make sure that it's absolutely straightforward, because that center strut, this is the window that the pilot is looking straight out when she's sitting in that forward chair. It's this important window right here. So that's the most important window, to make sure that all of its vertices are as wide so she can get as much view out that window as she can. This window is important, but this window is also important because she's sitting here. So she needs to look here to her left and here forward to kind of get an idea of where the spacecraft is when she's trying to, do a docking procedure or something like that. So there we go. All right, guys, I'm going to go to lunch with an old college buddy. And I think his daughter. So we've got a college buddy and one of his daughters. They're gonna visit with me and my dear beloved partner, who I know has rumbled around. I heard her rumbling around somewhere over here, so she's moving. She's probably got a little bit of blood still in her coffee stream, so I'm hoping she's got a little less blood in her coffee stream so she is ready to go. So I will be back on again tonight. If you guys are interested, I'll be back at 10 o'clock tonight, Mountain Time, and I'll run till midnight. And hopefully, we will manage to finish off the structure here on the pilot house and make it get to work. So I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Thank you for joining me, Joan. Thank you for joining me, Brent. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.